So hear me out. Vikings just traded up into the first round, picked up that 23rd pick. Okay. Chargers trade Justin Herbert because the Vikings are a ready offense. Okay. They're really just missing a quarterback. And now the Vikings, Darnold, I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Justin Fields ain't your answer. The Bears ain't going to try to send Justin Fields to the Vikings. They don't want to do it in interdivision. You know what I'm saying? So Vikings, if they can make it work with the cap, take on Justin Herbert. You get a guy like Herbert on that team to throw to guys like Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. You are a complete offense. Now you got to fix some things on defense. You got to fill some holes. They lost a couple of pieces. I know they re-signed a couple of guys, but shore up the defense. Focus on what you got in the draft. So the Chargers now keep number 5, mind you. Now they got 11 and 23 to go with it. All right. So what do the Chargers want to do, right?
All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz.
Welcome to All About the Balls podcast. I'm Mark Davis. I'm in the Sack House, and it is a 2-man show tonight. Yes, that's because the better half of the show tonight, I'm joined alongside is Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. And Doc, we're going to jump into it. I know you're feeling great. The Chicago Bears, Thursday night, just one night ago, we're laying in bed, and I see my phone blow up. I see Jake. I see Alan. I see Chris. And you even hop in there, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Keenan Allen traded for a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears, now paired with DJ Moore. Don't know who's going to be throwing him the rock, but how excited and how importantly are you feeling tonight?
Dude, I cannot tell you how excited I am for this move. This brings a bona fide, I don't want to say number 2, right? Because he could be the number 1 with DJ Moore. Honestly, we got 2 number 1s. We got 2 number 1s. You know what I mean?
I mean, you honestly do, yeah.
One's going to beat you deep. One's going to beat you in between. I mean, and I'm going to break it down a little bit more. But I mean, I am so psyched. When you look at this team top to bottom, which I'll get into, but I mean, this is I haven't been this excited for the Bears since the Khalil Mack deal, and even then the offense had a lot of questions. I can say in my 30-something years here as a Bears fan, this is the most excited that I've ever been. This is the most complete that I've ever felt. And whether or not Justin Fields is a quarterback, whether or not we draft, whatever we do, I mean, honestly, this is the kind of team that takes a Justin Fields and elevates him to the next level. But again, we'll get into more of that later on. But how are you doing, Mark? How are you feeling on this beautiful Friday night?
No, I'm doing good. I know the last time we spoke football was Monday, and we posted Tuesday, and we had Kirk Cousins, and I'm not sure if we talked Darnell Mooney. I know we might have overpaid him, but I know he said
at the time of the show he was not signed.
Okay,
yet.
So yeah, we have Darnell Mooney. I'm not like high on like the amount we gave him, 13 a year, but he does have some drop history. But when you have Kirk Cousins throwing you the pill, throwing you the rock, he's going to get opportunity after opportunity. I think it's good to pair him with Drake London. I like the Rondale Moore trade that we got for we got rid of Desmond Ridder, and we got literally a player for a player. I'm not saying Rondale Moore is going to be this crazy receiver in the NFL with Kirk Cousins, but remember, he was a 2nd-round draft pick from the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray, they just couldn't get the connection. I know Hopkins was there as well, and he's going to have opportunity because Kirk Cousins doesn't care who you are. He's going to throw you the ball, and I'm excited. I'm excited. We got Kader Hodges back. I'm not like, he's not a world beater either, but we got Ray McCloud. We're getting some weapons that maybe Kirk Cousins can get, and then we'll see what the draft's going to do. I'm not a believer that we're going to win the Super Bowl right now, but I like our chances. I think we're a young, sneaky, quiet squad with a big quarterback, obviously Kirk Cousins. But no, I'm excited. And I'm loving the moves that are going on. Like literally our title is free agency is wild because I'm sitting here, my mind's blown. Like all these quarterbacks, Doc, I know we're going to talk about shortly, are being traded or being signed. Sam Darnold went to the Vikings. Sam Howell traded to the Seahawks for a 3rd. You have Kenny Pickett today traded to the Eagles. You have Jimmy G going to the Rams. And then you have Justin Fields who's still sitting on the Chicago Bears. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? And every time we see an alert, an update, it's just mind-blowing. The the New York Jets, by the way, just signed Tyron Smith, 1-year deal worth up to $20 million. So it's just crazy what is going on this first week of free agency, especially the second half. We thought the first half was exciting from Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday on, it's been pretty electric. Derrick Henry signed with the Ravens, what was expected.
Well,
Calvin Ridley, yeah,
this has been one of the better free agencies. A lot more, in my opinion, star power and a lot more movement by way of trade for folks that are relevant. But I want to back up a little bit to what you were saying with the Kirk Cousins and Desmond Ridder getting traded. Not super excited about Rondale Moore, but here's the deal, okay? Who has the highest potential ceiling for you? Because if you're not excited about Rondale Moore, even for what he can,
I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I'm just saying, like, he's
your backup quarterback or a wide receiver that can come in and take over the show. You got to give him the opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
No, I love the acquisition. I love the trade because we still have Heineke as our backup, but I like the fact that we got rid of Desmond Ridder, get him out of the building. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but yes, we got that third option. Maybe we'll see what the draft is going to be the fourth option at wide receiver. But
if there's anything I'm convinced of, though, is that Desmond Ridder is not the answer. I mean, even Heineke as a backup, I'll take Heineke as a backup over Ridder. I mean, Ridder. Last year, I mean, Ridder had plenty of opportunities, couldn't make it happen. It's time, and honestly, it's just time to go. It's just time to go. Kirk Cousins makes you guys an immediate contender. Because Kirk Cousins, I think, is a quarterback that, like you said, whoever you are, he's going to find you. He's going to sling you the ball. What Atlanta has that Minnesota doesn't have is a more complete defense that's going to be able to keep him in games. You're going to be able to go deep. Kirk Cousins, he's just got to win the late game. He's got to get to the playoffs, show what he can do there. But the numbers with Kirk Cousins, I mean, you can't argue with him. You know what I mean? The guy's been a monster in the league the last 7-8 years. So the guy is, and this is, I'm excited to see finally an opportunity for Kyle Pitts and Drake London to step up and finally show their potential and see what they're really capable of, right? Did the Falcons strike gold or did they strike out? And now they finally have a bona fide quarterback that can come in. You pair that with Algier and Bijan Robinson. I mean, about as close to complete as you can get, I think. Maybe I got to look at your guys' defense. I don't know where you guys stand completely on defense. I think
we got great. Well, we get Grady Jarrett back. Remember, he got hurt in the middle of the year, towards the beginning of the year with 20 sales. So we're going to get, my opinion, one of the more underrated defensive linemen in the NFL. Yeah. Doesn't produce the big numbers, but he's always put pressure on the quarterback. We have one of the top safeties in the NFL. Jesse Bates was a dog last year. We did get Nate Lehman back last year, or he was kind of coming big in the second half of the season. We're a young defense. We're going to see what we do in the cornerback position in the pass rush. We're always looking for pass rush, but when it comes to Drake London, Desmond Ridder made our number one, Drake London, look like a 2. Now, that wasn't a bad option. Like, I think he had like 800 or 900 yards as a guy getting Desmond Ridder and Heineke the ball thrown to him. So now you have Kirk Cousins throwing you the ball. I'm seeing Drake London hit 1,100 yards this year. I really think Drake London can get 1,100, 6 touchdowns, and maybe 90-plus catches. I really think that Drake London is going to have a breakout year. I'm not saying he's going to be top 5 in each category, but I think he's going to have an emerging year. I think Kyle Pitts
it's not going to be hard to have a breakout in comparison to recent seasons. But I definitely think a breakout year is coming. But here's the main question with the draft approaching. You guys have made some moves in the offseason for wide receivers. You picked up your quarterback. Where are you leaning with the draft? Because my money is on Dallas Turner or Jared Verse.
Well, I'm okay
you guys
with
need that pass rusher.
I'm okay with going pass rush at number 8 and then going receiver at number 42. But I'm also okay with going wide receiver at 8 if Odunze or Neighbors falls, and then going pass rush at number 42. But if Odunze's gone, I understand Brian Thomas. He's emerging as the 4th receiver in the draft. I say go after Dallas Turner or Verse, and then you get maybe like a Jalen Polk or the guy from Florida, Purcell, or even the guy from Georgia, the little white slot receiver.
See, that's the thing. I think that the edge rusher or the wide receiver class is a lot deeper this year. So when you're talking about dropping down to 42, I think you're better off getting a receiver there because you've got and mind you, this is before Kirk Cousins comes in to see what this offense can do, what this wide receiver coach you have can do. Mooney could absolutely bounce back. That's best case scenario. Mooney bounce back, proves as a wide receiver 1. Drake London goes off. You got a good 1-2 duo. Rondale Moore, even as a slot or number 3, can
Kyle
do
Pitts there too.
Enough. And then Kyle Pitts is the receiving tight end. So
And Kyle Pitts, people forget, he was a 1,000-yard receiver his rookie year with an aging Matt Ryan.
and
So I'm
that's
just
why
saying.
I think, that's why I think you got to focus, shore up that defense, go edge rusher, get that pass pressure on the opposing quarterback, because I think you guys have enough potential. And when you're talking about the draft, that's what you're doing. You're drafting potential. So I think you guys have enough potential wide receiver right now. Go for it at 42. Focus on getting that defensive game changer earlier at that number 8 pick. Lock yourselves in on defense.
Let's transition though, Doc. I want to talk these quarterbacks, and I know we talked about it when we opened the show, and the whole talk was what's going to go on with Justin Fields, right? Is he going to get traded to the Steelers? Well, they get Russell Wilson, but they trade Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, so there's a backup slot there. Do the Falcons go for him? No, they bring Kirk Cousins in. Do the Patriots go for him? No, they brought Jacoby Brissett in. They did trade Mac Jones, but they still have Bailey Zappe out there. But Jimmy G goes to the Rams as a backup. I thought that was I even said in the Discord, I thought would have been a good opportunity for Justin Fields to learn behind Matthew Stafford if they had the balls to do it. The Seahawks trade over Sam Howell, which certifies that the Commanders are going to go for a quarterback at number 2. 100%. That's not an option. Yeah. Yep. And then you have Sam Darnold go to the Vikings on a 1-year deal. And it's just what is going on with all these teams going for quarterback, and nothing was with Justin Fields. So I know Philly was in on him maybe as a backup, but now Pittsburgh has a backup opportunity. Do the Bears take a chance and just keep Fields and figure out what they're going to do? I know you're going to maybe tease something later when we talk about the Chargers with that first pick, but do the Bears – I mean, I know you've been saying all offseason that they're going to keep Fields, and there's no market for him to start, obviously. Now, the backup situation, could he back up Russ, learn how to be a professional with Russell Wilson, and then maybe take over if Russell has an off year, and then he's only on a 1-year deal. So what is going on with Fields with all these other guys getting opportunities to be a backup? Gardner Minshew, too, to the Raiders, another guy right there. So what is going on?
So when I hint later on, we talk about draft opportunities and trades there. I'm gonna bring up Justin Fields might find himself in a Chargers uniform as part of a package deal that I'll talk about later, because I think that would sweeten the pot. But I think right now, the Bears and Ryan Poles, you've seen what he did in this trade. You've seen what he done in past trades. He's getting top value. You know what I mean? Whether it warrants it or not, he's getting top value. So I think that he's just kind of holding strong. And I think now with this Keenan Allen move, I think that this is a difference maker in the sense that, like, hey, keeping Justin Fields now might be a viable option, because again, when you look at this offense, right, regardless of the quarterback is DeAndre Swift at the run 1, and I'm saying Roschon Johnson is RB2. You got Moore and Allen that are interchangeable.
Well, Moore's going to be the guy that take the top off the tape, or takes the speed off the top, and then Keenan Allen is the guy that's going to get you. He's the guy that
scrappy guy.
He does the dirty, he does the dirty work. He's a route runner that gets you the first downs. Yeah, he's right there. He gets you. Yeah.
So, and here's the thing. So DJ Moore, like you said, he's going to take the speed. He's going to get behind the secondary. He's going to get deep, take that long route. But he also gets open everywhere else in the field. Very shifty feet work. Chad Ochocinco said it best. There's only a handful of these guys in the league, and Keenan Allen's one of them, and that's a Rottweiler. He's a guy that's going to get up vertical. He's going to fight you for the ball. He's going to go above the rim. He's going to come down with it.
He knows where the first down mark. Yeah, he knows where the chains are at.
Yeah, he's going to body. He's going to move chains. And then you take Cole Kmet, who is – so you got a deep threat and more. You got a Rottweiler and Keenan Allen. Guy that's going to move the chains. You got one of the emerging tight ends in the league in Cole Kmet, who is a red zone nightmare to any defense. Guy very difficult to guard in the end zone. And then you bring in a very underrated – very good pass-catching Gerald Everett to play alongside him, run a 2 tight end set. Top to bottom offensively, the only thing that I see the Bears need at this point, because this is the kind of offensive lineup that makes a quarterback like Justin Fields good. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, a good quarterback is going to deal with what he's got. We've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it elsewhere. But having the weapons doesn't hurt. It helps tremendously. So this is the kind of offense that can elevate Justin Fields to the next level, finally getting an offensive line, finally getting multiple receiving threats. We saw, and don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. You saw a huge improvement for Justin Fields last year. His average pass yards per game was up like 30 or 39, something like that.
Second half of the season, he was really improving. He was.
Yeah, he was dealing with injury in the first half of the season, through the middle portion, got in there, got that chemistry with DJ Moore. Cole Kmet's been working with for a couple of years now. So you saw the changes happening. You were still dealing with the Chase Claypool fallout. That finally worked itself out when he got moved. Darnell Mooney was kind of, we talked about the down years. We hit on that earlier. So now bringing a bona fide second wide receiver. Honestly, if they stay with Justin Fields, I don't think it's an issue. I want to see Justin Fields stay.
I would like to see it work out because I would like to see Justin Fields succeed in the NFL. I know he was rumored to Atlanta, and I was going to be excited just to see him a chance. But, Doc, back to this offense real quick. I haven't been excited for Chicago Bears offense since the Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Matt Forte days. And Greg Olsen. I haven't been excited since those four were together on the Chicago Bears. And I get it. It's not the same, talent-wise, because we don't know what the QB is going to be. I think if Jay Cutler would have played with this team, I know a lot of people have problems with Jay Cutler, but Jay Cutler would have.
There was a lot of awareness and decision making.
Yeah,
issues.
but this team right here, that's saying it's the same excitement where they are deeper when it comes to position players and whatnot. But that's the last time I was excited for this team, and we were saying it last night. And I know one of our buddies, Moses out there, he's a Packers fan, and I get what he's saying, that the whole doubt is the Chicago Bears. They're going to do Bears things, but I'm giving y'all the benefit of the doubt. I'm excited, and I think if you just get the right quarterback, because Shane Waldron is going to tell Uberfless what quarterback he wants. It's going to come on Shane Waldron which QB he wants to run his style of play, his system.
And that's what they're both dual threat quarterbacks, but obviously, here's the thing: you're kind of in the same position either which way you go. You've got, in my opinion, an emerging quarterback, a guy that showed a lot of improvement last year, especially like you said in that second half. And as a quarterback, when you get a guy like Montez Sweat that elevates the defense to the next level, and it takes a lot of the pressure off the offense, you don't feel like you have to do as much. It makes your job a lot easier when you're not going in here like, if I don't put the world on my back, we ain't winning. Now he doesn't have to do that so much, right? So now he can go out there and just play his game, focus on what he's got to do. So you're talking about an emerging quarterback and a new quarterback coming in. Both of them are kind of, starting in the same level, except for Caleb Williams has just never played at this level. So you run a risk on bringing a guy in. We've seen how many first-round quarterbacks flop in the last, when we did that trivia thing. So
it's been a lot.
It's not a guarantee that he is going to succeed. And if he does not succeed, we just wasted everything, and we're back in the same bucket for the next 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
If I'm the Bears, I still stick by, now obviously stick by Fields, but if I'm drafting a quarterback, I want Jaden Daniels. I really do. I want the guy. He's played a little more.
I've said it since day one. Caleb Williams is not the answer. Caleb Williams is not the guy. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. I would prefer.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I would prefer Daniels over Williams. Honestly, I prefer May over Williams. I don't know if I want to say that, but I probably prefer May over Williams. I think that there's so much hype, and I'm talking like Sam Darnold type hype of Caleb Williams and getting that kind of result. So I think even if they go quarterback number one, keeping Justin Fields and let them fucking battle each other out and see who the best man is. And whoever proves it at that point, if they go QB1 with the first pick, let them battle it out, give it a fair shake, see who comes out on top, because Caleb Williams could come out into camp and just, it could not click.
You know what I'm saying? But the Bears could also keep Fields. I mean, like I said, we saw 60-something starting quarterbacks last year. That's pretty much double what the league has. You have 32 teams.
Yeah.
Maybe they keep Fields and they use him as trade bait if someone goes down and they're like, okay, well, give us a second. Now you're getting draft capital for next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that is another option that people have been floating around there. Maybe you just keep them, which would cause a little bit of drama, yes, because you have Caleb Williams, the number one pick, or Jaden Daniels, whoever you guys pick, and then you have Justin Fields, a guy you guys drafted at number 10 or 11. I think it was 11 in 2021. But let's move on to the Chargers, because you mentioned them with Keenan Allen. And I know we've been hammering them because they were so much over the cap. They let go of Mike Williams. He's visiting Carolina coming up. I don't think he's going to sign right away. I think he's going to want to weigh his options. And then You restructure with Bosa and Mac. I think if you're just trying to rebuild, I think you get rid of all four, to be honest. But they got rid of the offensive players. They traded, like I said, Keenan Allen to the Bears. And I know me and Jake, we've said it in the chat, we trust Jim Harbaugh to make the right decisions to build his team and his image. I say give a coach 3 years. It's like, for example, I want to see Sean Payton elevate the Broncos this year. I mean, I think Sean Payton maybe gets reset maybe to 4 years because he's now got rid of Russell Wilson, so he's got to kind of clear all that shit. I give him 4 years, but I want to see what Jim Harbaugh can do. And the question is, what the fuck are the Chargers doing? Because Herbert, we question him. A lot of people, myself included, we question him, and you took away his weapons. Austin Eckler didn't re-sign. You got rid of Gerald Everett. So the whole squad you had for Justin Herbert is gone, and
So
you want him to develop.
Hey, a man, what's he getting? 55 million a year?
I'll have to
Isn't
look
it
at his
something like
contract.
55 million?
Yeah, well, he's still in his rookie. He's still in his rookie deal because
He just
he
signed
came
a,
in
what,
20.
a 4-year? What was it? 4-year?
5-year,
$260.
$262.5 million,
So he's over 50 million a year.
218 guaranteed.
So hear me out. Vikings just traded up into the first round, picked up that 23rd pick. Okay. Chargers trade Justin Herbert because the Vikings are a ready offense. Okay. They're really just missing a quarterback. And now the Vikings, Darnold, I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Justin Fields ain't your answer. The Bears ain't going to try to send Justin Fields to the Vikings. They don't want to do it in interdivision. You know what I'm saying? So Vikings, if they can make it work with the cap, take on Justin Herbert. You get a guy like Herbert on that team to throw to guys like Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. You are a complete offense. Now you got to fix some things on defense. You got to fill some holes. They lost a couple of pieces. I know they re-signed a couple of guys, but shore up the defense. Focus on what you got in the draft. So the Chargers now keep number 5, mind you. Now they got 11 and 23 to go with it. All right. So what do the Chargers want to do? Right, reset that QB market. Now that Justin Herbert's gone, trade number 5 because you got to swap the early pick. You got to swap the early pick to move up, get your franchise quarterback for the future. Trade that number 5 and either 11 or 23, pair a first round next year, send that to Chicago, get the first overall pick, and maybe even Justin Fields gets you because you're going to bring in a rookie. You get the number 1 pick. Even if Justin Fields plays your backup there, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that would make as much sense, especially because the Bears are going to trade down and now they're not going to have that quarterback opportunity. So I don't think Justin Fields is paired, but pair a couple of picks. Get that franchise quarterback that you want for your future. Reset the market. You just shed $50-something million a year in cap space. So now you got the team where you want it to be. You just shed 23.1 off of Keenan Allen. You know what I mean? Draft your quarterback. The Bears drop back a little bit. Fine. Okay, we don't get Marvin Harrison at number 3. Number 5, great spot to pick up an offensive lineman because that's one of the only holes. I'm not even going to say a hole. One of the only needs that we might still have on offense. Still get a 3rd wide receiver. And I think we still go wide receiver with that 5th pick because Keenan Allen is in the 4th year of his 4-year deal. He's in the last year. You know what I mean? $23 million going into his age 32 season. Are we going to continue to pay him top dollar even if he balls out this year? Because you're getting old. You know what I mean? You ain't got all the time left. So maybe a 2-year deal like a Mike Evans deal like we were talking about earlier. So something short because if the Bears can prove they can win now, Mike Evans would definitely do that. Maybe even take a pay cut knowing that he's getting old and like, hey, I just want to win. We didn't get that in Los Angeles. So if I can win in Chicago, let's do that. And mind you, Keenan Allen must feel high about the Bears because he said if he didn't get the handful of teams that he was looking at, I think it was down to like 5 or 6 teams that he was willing to go to, he was going to retire. So he must feel good about the Bears to be willing to go there.
In that scenario, though, I know it's a crazy like draft day movie like scene with Kevin Costner, which is a great movie, by the way. I watch that every single draft season. I will turn that on about a few days before the draft, and I'll sit there and be like, God damn, Kevin Costner.
Great flick.
Best GM of all time, Kevin Costner. Yeah. He's the best cowboy of all time, too. I mean, he's Yellowstone. I mean,
Ryan Poles before he was Ryan Poles.
yeah.
And not to mention, one thing I wanted to say with that move is now that the Vikings are getting that bona fide quarterback, you ain't got to worry about taking a chance on a J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold, great backup role for Justin Herbert. So you don't need those picks as the Vikings in the first round. Even if you hold 23, 11 in this year, first next year, even if who's that 3rd receiver in the fuck is his name?
Well, they got rid of KJ Osborne. They
Oh, did
they got rid of
Osborne?
Osborne. Yeah, he didn't get rid of him. He was a free agent. But no, I mean, I was gonna say though, is if that type of movie type like scene, which could happen. I mean, we don't know what the Chargers are doing and we don't know what the Vikings are doing because once they made that trade,
we know one thing the Chargers are doing. They're shedding cap.
well, the shedding cap and the rebuilding into Jim Harbaugh's image. Now, we don't know what the image because when Jim Harbaugh took over the 49ers, he kept Alex Smith. And, Alex Smith was close to being out of the league or at least being a backup somewhere. And he turned Alex Smith's career around. He made Colin Kaepernick look pretty good for those couple of years. I mean, as much as, people, I know the whole political side of it, but Kaepernick was good for a few years with Jim Harbaugh. We can't take that away from him.
His record was good. His numbers were all
his
right.
His dual threat was pretty good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Same with Alex Smith. And now in this scenario, if that happens, all three teams, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Chargers, I think they walk away happy. I think the Chargers would get Caleb
100%.
Williams or Jaden Daniels, whoever. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh personally would go Caleb Williams because of the ego. I think that he would go Daniels or he would even go Drake May. And it's crazy to say that Drake May then would shoot up to one because I think the only one that would be dumb enough to take Drake May number one, or hey, does Jim Harbaugh just take J.J. McCarthy at number one, his former quarterback? He knows him. He can run his system, and then you have the Bears who get who they want at 5, and then 9 you still have. And you have 5, 9, 11, or 5, 9, 23. You have 3 first-rounders, and then the Vikings get Justin Herbert, and it's a win for everyone. It honestly is.
It is. I mean, not if Harbaugh and the Chargers are set on going number 1, they're not trading because McCarthy's going to fall to number 5. He's not going top 4. Top 3, it's going to be, I think, I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of leadership qualities that were talked about with McCarthy. I mean, that's definitely somebody I could see the Patriots going for. I know that they want Jaden Daniels, but if it's down to Drake May, if they're not high on Drake May and it's him McCarthy, I mean, the Patriots may go McCarthy. They may trade back. You know what I mean? That's the beautiful thing about the draft. There's so many different options, but you said it best.
Yeah.
This is like a perfect situation to marry everything. The Vikings get a quarterback. The Bears, because like I said, I think with this move, I think Ryan Poles is doing a lot more thinking now. Like, do we really want to go quarterback? Because
to be honest, I think
no way Justin Fields doesn't succeed with this.
To be honest, if Ryan Poles goes quarterback, I don't care what Ryan Poles does. I will support Ryan Poles whichever decision he makes. If he feels that Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels is the guy, and he pulls the trigger on one of those 2 quarterbacks, I will support that as a fan of the NFL and as a fan of what Ryan Poles is doing because of what he's done the last 2 off seasons. If he decides to keep Fields, I will support him and back him up. I might raise some eyebrows a little bit because if Justin Fields starts to struggle, then your job is potentially on the line. At least that coach's job is on the line. And Shane Waldron might get a pass because it's his first year. But I will support Ryan Poles the rest of this offseason, whatever he decides to do, because I've been a fan of the moves. The DJ Moore trade, you just get 2 number 1 receivers in back-to-back off seasons.
Not to mention, keep in mind, the Bears are down to 4 draft picks for this year. Now, we don't have a ton of holes to fill, but we got to get depth. And you can't get a whole lot of depth with 4 draft picks, especially when you look at his draft last year. I mean, he had a phenomenal draft last year. So I think, and if we trade back 9, I don't think we get as much capital back. That's the only issue. We might get a couple extra 5th or 6th, but
because they use that analytic type thing to see like what each pick is worth, and then
we need day 1 and day 2 capital. So I think trading back number 1, even if we go to number 5 and pick what's left of the litter for quarterbacks, we get capital for the next year. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I don't think that Caleb Williams is the guy. So if we trade back, we ain't going to get Caleb Williams. I am A-okay with that. We pick up hopefully an additional later first round. Because I think they have to go at least 5 and 23 this year because the 23 is not valued as high.
It's not.
I mean,
I think the Vikings are just doing
they
that.
They got it for like a 2nd and 3rd, I think, or 2nd and 4th.
Well,
So.
they gave up their 2nd obviously to swap, but then they gave a 2nd next year, and I think pick 188.
Yeah,
which whatever that's, I
so
think a 5th or something.
So if they do 5 and 23, and we get next year's 1st, and maybe next year's 2nd, or some 3rd or 4th round picks, whatever. But the bottom line is we need capital this year. We need more than 4 picks this year, and keep in mind, 2 of those are 1 and 9. So after the ninth pick of the draft, we got 2 picks left for the rest of the draft.
Well, rumors are from Daniel Jeremiah too, Doc, is 4 of the top 6 picks will be quarterback. Obviously, pick 4 will not be a quarterback. Arizona's not choosing a QB.
Correct.
They're going to go Kyler Murray, or they could trade down. And that's what I was going to say is every team from 1 through 6 is a wild card because you don't know. Like, I mean, even if the Bears draft quarterback, it's not guaranteed Caleb Williams is the quarterback. It could be Jane Daniels. And then if it is Caleb Williams, do the Commanders go Drake May or Jane Daniels? Because that's the conversation. And then if Jane Daniels goes too, what do the Patriots do? There's been rumors they trade out of that pick. There's been rumors they go Marvin Harrison. And then what do you do with Minnesota and Denver, who are sitting right there? The Giants are rumored to at 6 to maybe do something for a quarterback.
It's convinced.
So chaos.
I am convinced that the Vikings took that second first-round pick. They picked that up to package that deal to move up in the draft. Now,
and I don't think we see it until draft night neither. I think we wait.
That's why I think you're better off, and if it happens, it'll happen before the draft. I think you're better off packaging those picks and maybe a future up to the Chargers, get Justin Herbert. That way you don't have to take a chance on nobody. You look at the numbers from Herbert. I mean, yeah, we talked earlier about, the late game and the playoffs and everything else. But I think the defense is a hell of a lot more complete in Minnesota. Not that it's complete by any means, but it's a hell of a lot more complete.
They were good in
Los Angeles.
They were good last year, but not like great. They were good, but they weren't great.
Right, but that's what I'm saying with Justin Fields is taking that pressure off defensively. We saw, if that's the reason, we saw the difference it made in Justin Fields that second half of the season. You know what I'm saying? So if we can see a better Herbert come out knowing that his boys on the other side of the ball got his back, that's a difference maker. You know what I'm saying? So I have no doubt, regardless, Vikings are going quarterback where they find somebody to trade. And it just makes sense because the Chargers in such a prime position to shed that future cap, start over, truly get that rebuild, get Harbaugh a guy that he wants to mold from the ground up. Minnesota wins, they get a quarterback. Chargers get a draft pick, Bears drop back. Because honestly, especially if that happens, like you said, I mean, the Bears are still a target to trade anyways. Because with this team, like I said, Justin Fields can be successful. I don't care who you are. You can hate on Justin Fields all you want. With this, you can't say that the potential is not there. The ceiling is the sky's the limit right now for him. But you look at if the Patriots are that dead set on Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders are as well, the Commanders ain't gonna trade with you. So you got to jump the Commanders. So their trade potential with the Bears. The Giants have been in rumors about picking a quarterback. We said 4 of the top 6. Realistically, could be 5 of the top 6.
Realistically,
if the deal works.
Yeah.
If
it doesn't, then the Chargers if it doesn't, the Chargers and Cardinals,
Chargers ain't going for quarterback. Yeah, you're paying a guy over $50 million for 4 years, so or 5 years. The other one is the Giants. The Giants are another. Hey, we're paying.
Oh yeah, that's another. Hey, that's another quarterback name I forgot. They got Drew Lock too, Doc. That's what I'm saying. They just signed Drew Lock to be a potential.
And they sold Drew Lock. The GM came out and said they sold on Drew Lock for the potential to fight for that position. So you're going to pay a guy to be a backup for $40 million. I don't know what Daniel Jones's guaranteed is, but again, either way, we've seen it before where teams have made moves for quarterbacks and then cut them in the preseason or kept them as a third string. We saw it last year, the Bears with PJ Walker and putting Badgett as the number 2. So there's a number of different ways it can go. The Giants could absolutely make a move. Look, if you're the Giants and you got Daniel Jones for $40 million, you see what he's done. You got Drew Lock as a backup. Are you satisfied with that? Or if you have the opportunity to put a package together to move up to number 1, are you jumping on that? Or move up to the top 3 for a quarterback? You're jumping on that. You know what I'm saying?
I think every team that is skeptical at quarterback, and the insiders and all the experts are saying it, any team is a possibility. I think from Denver, and I wouldn't even count out the Raiders. Like, I know they got Minshew. I wouldn't even count out the Raiders at 13. Maybe they could make a move. They're all those teams that are quarterback soon ready to draft.
Honestly, though, I don't know. Some of those guys that are mid-first round, I don't see it.
They have to give a lot. They have to give a lot more.
Unless you put a talent like the Bears did with the Panthers in packaging DJ Moore, like that's why I'm convinced the Vikings did it to either package those. I'm not even going to say for Justin Herbert. I'm not going to say that's why they did it, but that kind of scenario or to move up further in the draft. But even then, the Vikings aren't moving up to the top 3 for 11 and 23, even if they package a next year deal.
Well, I agree, and it's all eyes.
They might move up to like 7, 8, 9. You know what I mean? Maybe 6 if they package 11 and 23 and a first next year. But now you're talking about getting a lot of capital to not get the top guy. You know what I mean? You're talking you got to be top 8 with a lot of capital going with it in order to move up into that top 3 spot.
We know that something's cooking from Minnesota, and we know that it's draft season. It's smokescreen season. It is this and that rumors, and someone's going to say this, someone's going to say that. That's why I believe Jane Jones is going number 2, because I've been seeing it a lot more. Allen's dead set that they might go Drake May because he's got people thinking that New England thinks that Commanders are going too. So we don't know what's going to happen. We can all sit here and say we know, we don't, because I don't think that they're going to feed the insiders or the beat writers or the guys from the Athletic or whatever the true information. They might throw little tidbits out there to make them write something so that it gets things stirred, but we truthfully don't know. I mean, like I said, it's the draft. I mean, things happen. People trade. It's just, you'd never know. But, Doc, speaking of never knowing, and this one's sad for me. We knew it was going to happen eventually. We just didn't know when. Aaron Donald, after 10 seasons, finally called it a career. 10 seasons. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time All-Pro, a 10-time Pro Bowler, which I know we laugh at the Pro Bowl, but make the Pro Bowl every year in your career, that is phenomenal. And, you know, the only All-Pro teams he made was first team. He was first team from 2015 to 2021. So his first 2 seasons, his first season he didn't make it, and then years 22 and 22 he didn't make it. So he didn't make the All-Pro, but he made the Pro Bowl. So, and that's crazy. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And he was the last play on Joe Burrow. He was the one that sealed the deal in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. What a hell of a career. First ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, too. I think he gets it in 5 years. You might as well just get the jacket ready now.
Yeah, I agree. He's got the Super Bowl. I mean, if not first, second for sure. He's got the accolades. I mean, Pro Bowl every single year is a huge deal. Hell of a career for the guy. I mean, he's been talking about retirement for 2 or 3 years now. So we kind of knew it was coming at some point. And I think it's a shame that he's doing it now, because the Rams are in a position to be in contention again. I mean, this offense was electric last year. I know the Rams got to figure something out at quarterback. Stafford is coming up on the end. They've got the weapons at wide receivers. So, I mean, this is a team that can compete. I mean, I thought they were going to go further in the playoffs than they did last year. I was kind of disappointed.
Remember, Allen had an NFC Championship game going to the playoffs. So, I mean, people were high on him.
I definitely had him going places. This is a huge hit. This is going to change the defensive landscape for this team, the output. It obviously, I'll say it cripples them. You know, when you got a guy of that magnitude and that caliber, I mean, it cripples when you lose somebody like that. So would have been nice to see, you know, I'm sure that he was in talks with Los Angeles, so it would have been nice to see the Rams make some more moves to.
They weren't blindsided, is what the reports are. I don't think Aaron Donald doesn't come off as Aaron Donald doesn't come off as an asshole.
No, he's not.
He comes off as a guy that respects the community, respects the organization.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's why it's disappointing. Would have been nice to see him do some stuff to prepare for it in free agency. Because they could have not. I mean, you don't fill a hole like Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? But you could have done it as well as you can. Got some people opposite of each other. But now it's kind of like, man, where does this leave the Rams? Because this is a huge hole coming off the line there. A guy of that ability is what we saw Khalil Mack in Chicago. You know what I mean? Coming off the line in that way, it affects the quarterback's decision-making, the time to throw, everything else, forces up bad decisions. Like, those are the instances where one guy on defense can affect the other 10 players and elevate the other 10 players to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Whether they got the skill or not. Yeah.
Like TJ Watt. TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, like you said, Khalil Mack back in his heyday, his prime. I mean, Myles Garrett, like those guys are the guys that.
Mack had a hell of a year last year.
He did. But I'm saying, like, the prime Khalil Mack, where he was getting all pro at 2 different. Well, he was getting all pro at two different positions in the same season. He was getting outside linebacker and pass rusher. He was getting in two different positions in 1 year.
So
I mean, yeah,
it hurts.
It does hurt, and it sucks because I mean, when you watch Aaron Donald, and people forget, people also, I mean, like us, like, and then we talk about how great he is. People forget, like, when it comes to like his height, he's actually undersized to be playing the position he's playing. He started as a D tackle, kind of been more of a edge rusher the last couple seasons, but he's an undersized defensive lineman. But he's fucking
still won the
strong.
battle.
Well, he's strong as hell. Yeah, he's a beast.
Congratulations, Aaron Donald. Well deserved. Hell of a career. Obviously a Hall of Famer. Can't wait to see it.
And probably the greatest number 99 in NFL's history, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Warren Sapp was a dog. But, man, Aaron Donald he's just, I mean, he's a freak.
Been a lot of fun watching him.
Yeah, it was. And speaking of fun watching, Doc, Calvin Ridley broke the bank. He's going to Nashville. It's going to be a Tennessee Titan, opposite side of DeAndre Hopkins, newly acquired running back Tony Pollard, and first full-year starter, mayonnaise, banana peel eating, Will Levis. I know people are ripping it. Do you think it's a bad place? You think it's a bad deal for the Titans as well?
What was the money again?
Ooh, it was like 4 years, like 90-something million.
God. I mean, I don't think so. You talk about what Calvin Ridley was before the suspension, and then to come out last year.
Yep.
I mean, the guy
4 years, $92 million, $50 million total in guarantees.
So
29 years old.
The guy put up numbers last year, mind you, in a down Trevor Lawrence year. All right, where Trevor Lawrence couldn't seem to find the bunker at a golf course. So he had 1,100 yards last year.
Cal Ridley's stats were a little. I'd have to look.
1,000 yards. I know he had numbers. I got to pull it up here.
Here we go. Calvin Ridley last year, he had 76 catches for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. And it was a quiet season because they kind of disappeared from him a lot of times towards the second half of the season. I mean, it was kind of like a roller coaster, honestly. It was like times where, he looks open, but Trevor's not looking at him. And I just didn't get it. I mean,
in a down Trevor year and to still come out and produce numbers, and I know he missed a couple of games with injury. The whole wide receiver core was just a very weird mix last year. Zay Jones, could not keep himself on the field to save his life. Calvin really seemed for the better part of the season like the only option last year. I think it's a good move for Tennessee. I think that was one of the things Tennessee was missing last year. D-Hop, good receiver, but I mean, he's getting up there. You know what I mean? He's not what he used to be. I think this brings in a good weapon for Will Levis, elevate this offense to the next level. Who did they get at running back again?
Tony Pollard.
Pollard. I mean,
I'm not a fan of Tony Pollard. I'm really not.
Not a bad move, though. Not the worst you could have done. You know what I mean? You could have done worse than Tony Pollard.
Well, they're drafting the best offensive tackle probably that's available. If it's Joe Alt, if it's the guy from Penn State, they might even go J.C. Latham. But I'm just confused on the Titans organization in general because I get it, it's a different general manager this time around, but they were unwillingly going to pay a 24-year-old A.J. Brown. You trade him for a first, you get Treylon Burks. That didn't work out. And now you have a 29-year-old Ridley who, I don't say character issues, but
that trade is one of the things that led to that GM getting fired.
Well, that was the start of it, and then it was the 3-touchdown game that same season when A.J. Brown lit up the Eagles or lit up the Titans. Yeah, and that was the final nail. They said literally fired him. I think they fired him the next day, if I'm not mistaken. But I just don't get it. You're unwilling to pay a 24-year-old freak. But remember, he wasn't.
Like
it wasn't
settle regime.
It was, but it's also because they had Tannehill. Tannehill wasn't. I know. It's just.
I'm not saying I agree.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
Those moves obviously led to that man getting fired. So somebody came in, saw an opportunity. I like it. I mean, the money might be a little much, but at the same time, the wide receiver market, a lot of folks got tagged, so the wide receiver market was kind of rough on this one. There weren't a ton of premier talents available. When Darnell Mooney is listed as the second best receiver available, it's not a very deep wide receiver free agency. So I mean, you went out, you got the best guy available. He knew he was the best guy available. He was going to get paid. He was going to get paid wherever he went. Good on the Titans for finally shelling out the money, but they believe highly in Will Levis. They want him to be the future. So giving him a weapon now puts him in a position to show what he's worth and we've seen flashes, you know what I mean? So now it's like, hey, we got you something. You better do something with it, because if he doesn't, then hey, back to the drawing board. Look at a draft and picking up a QB and then deal Ridley.
I will say I will give the Titans credit for at least giving the weapons to help Will Levis. Now just develop the O-line. At least you're saying you trust Will Levis enough.
Took him 3 years to do it for Fields.
Yeah, so now you got him Hopkins. I get he's a little older, but Hopkins started to play a little better when Will Levis took over. I mean, the Atlanta game, he lit us up. And then you have Calvin Ridley. He's you have a good little duo if you're going to start throwing the ball. There's no Derrick Henry there because, there's no Derrick Henry, so the run game might not be as important with the two scat backs you have. So
they stopped. They didn't utilize Henry like they did before.
Well, quite 1,000 yards for Henry too, to be honest. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Speak of Derrick Henry, he's a perfect fit. I will agree with Ryan Clark. Amazing fit, but in the playoffs, is that really going to be the difference maker of the Ravens being good? It's going to be scary, and it's going to be fun to watch. I will say I will have fun watching the Ravens with Lamar Jackson and Mitchell and Derrick Henry in the backfield because you don't know who's going to get the ball, and it's just going to be exciting to watch. But in the playoffs, is that going to be the difference maker for the Baltimore Ravens? Is Derrick Henry?
No, I don't think so. Derrick Henry, great running back, obviously. Great running offense. I think that how they utilize that run game with Lamar Jackson as well. I don't think Derrick Henry brings the offense as a whole to the next level because the biggest issue that we saw was the passing game. We saw it in the playoffs, forced Lamar to be a quarterback. You saw what happened. They needed receivers. Zay Flowers finally started showing later on in the year. Odell Beckham obviously moved on. How well they utilized him. I mentioned it in a previous show. He had to make a Instagram reel with 45 different angles of one catch because that was all he could get. Mark Andrews obviously dealt with injuries. And honestly, with what was expected of Odell Beckham, and I don't know if it was OBJ not getting open or not seeing him or whose fault it was, whatever, but it seemed like Nelson Aguilar and who was the other guy?
Well, they have Zay Flowers, who they drafted.
No, who was the other receiver that I kept seeing? It was Aguilar and somebody else that it just seemed like they kept making the big plays, the touchdown catches, the first downs, everything else. OBJ just wasn't getting utilized. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be a historic Ravens team.
Run game's going to be – the running game.
Year after year, run game and defense. And if it works, it works. Great. Where the team is at and where the offense is at, I don't think Derrick Henry brings this offense to the next level. I think it just kind of keeps more – instead of utilizing 3 backs last year with Edwards, Mitchell, and who the fuck was it? Dobbins. Instead of using a trio of backs this year, you're going to – Keaton Mitchell will get some touches.
Yeah, he'll be that elusive, he'll be that speedster.
It won't be like a 3-back system like it was, or a 2-back system like it was last year. It'll be the Derrick Henry show, but he'll still get some touches.
It'll be similar to what Dallas did. Maybe not as much where Pollard got a lot of looks, but it'll be a lot more Henry, and then Mitchell will be like the Pollard type where he comes in, he's a scat back. Yeah,
you're just going to take the 3 guys output from last year and put it into one. So I don't think it really changes the offense. The Ravens had weapons in the backfield last year, so I don't think it makes them any scarier. Henry can do more than what they did last year. Mitchell's that guy that if he finds a seam, he's gone. You know what I mean? Henry's going to break through. So, yes, there are some adds to it, but at the end of the day, I don't think it brings the offense to holy shit, watch the Ravens next year on offense. They're going to do what they always do.
And the thing with the Ravens is, I know how exciting this run game's gonna be, but they did lose a lot on defense. So like,
They
I'm
did.
not crazy sold on the Ravens yet. I want to see the draft. I want to see maybe if they get some more like key players like Jadeveon Clowney, where he came in, and see what they do, because I just don't know what I think about the Ravens on defense yet. They lost Geno Stone, they lost Patrick Queen, they did get Matabuke back, but you're still losing a lot of guys. You lost some corners. Ronald Darby went to the Jaguars. And speaking of Jaguars, I thought they had a pretty good free agency. I know we're not going to
Yep.
talk much about them, but they had a pretty good one. Eric Armstead, and they got Ronald Darby and Gabe Davis. I mean, Jacksonville, they might be cooking too. But no, I just don't know how I feel about the Ravens, honestly, at this immediate moment.
I don't know. I think until they get more weapons, honestly, yes, the Ravens lost some pieces, so they should have filled holes. But I think the number one concern in free agency this year should have been wide receiver, hands down. And if they don't go wide receiver in the draft, I mean, you guys you're not getting it. You know what I mean? You guys aren't getting it. There is no helping you. It is what it is. We touched on it. The Jags had a great offseason. I mean, there were a lot of teams that had a great off. And I was bitching about it. It's funny. Last night, right before the Keenan Allen trade, I was looking at the Bears, and I was like, what a shit offseason that we had. We made a couple of moves, some offensive line. We got Jalen Johnson back. We picked up another edge guy, but I wasn't thrilled with what we did. But that Keenan Allen move elevates him to the top of the class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like the
did.
Falcons. The Falcons getting Kirk Cousins elevates them to the top of the class. You know what I mean? So there's two different ways to gauge a successful free agency. Either had a lot of holes and filled a bunch of them with top-tier talent, or you got that missing piece that you needed. And right now I think the Falcons did that with Kirk Cousins because I think he can make that core look great in Atlanta. The Bears did it with Keenan Allen. I think Justin Fields is going to do significantly better. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. I think he started to last year, and we're only going to see that get better this year. And then there's other teams, obviously.
I thought the Texans did good too. They got Daniel Hunter, and I know Joe Mixon's a little older, but he doesn't seem. Joe Mixon doesn't seem to be broken, and they signed him for a 3-year extension, so they have Joe Mixon for 4 seasons left. Now that's when it's probably going to be done for Joe Mixon. It's probably after year 3 is when you maybe ship him off.
Oh yeah, no, but you're going to get a couple. I think you're going to get a couple of solid years out of Mixon. Mixon is still a very effective back. He was coming off. Was it last year, or the year before? He came off that 4 or 5 touchdown game.
Yeah,
like 3
like
rushing and 2 receiving.
And it helps Joe Mixon because now you're going to CJ Stroud, and no disrespect towards Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow wasn't a player last year most of the year. So now you're going to CJ Stroud, another quarterback like a phenomenal guy like Joe Burrow, where you have to respect their ability to throw the ball. So the box won't be stacked nearly as much. So you're going to have opportunity if they get that offensive line going. So yeah.
Here's the thing with the running back class, though, is most of these guys have the talent. Josh Jacobs might be the exception with what he did last year. But most of these running backs have the talent. It's just how they're utilized. That's what the biggest thing is. DeAndre Swift was a top running back in the league last year, but the Eagles randomly were like, hey, you're only going to get 3 touches this week, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you the rock. I don't know what to tell you, man. We said it in week 1. Anytime we only give you a couple of touches, never a good week, but we're going to get you 100 yards the next 2 weeks and a couple of touchdowns, and then we're going to give you the ball once. So,
and I will,
it goes back.
Yeah.
It goes back. It's how you get used and whether or not the team's going to use you. DeAndre Swift, and that's where I think might be the issue with him in Chicago, because you got Roschon Johnson, you got Khalil Herbert, you got 3 good backs in Chicago. How are they going to pan that out? We saw it last year too. I think Deontay Foreman was very good, but again, they split it. And it goes back to the same thing with Henry. It's how they're going to use Henry in Baltimore. Are you going to make him your bona fide number 1, or are you going to split him with Keaton Mitchell? Like, across the board, it's how you're going to use guys. Cam Akers in the Rams system, obviously we know had his struggles. I was never a huge fan of Cam Akers, but then they started bringing in Kyron Williams. So it's like, what do you expect from him? If you're not giving him the opportunity, what do you expect? Now, Cam Akers, again, being an exception, because when he had the opportunity, he was shit. But most of these guys that picked up deals, that moved on, even Singletary, I think, if he's utilized right, can be a great back. All these guys, Saquon Barkley, like, great back if he's used. And he was in New York, don't get me wrong. But now he's going to go to a system in Philly. We saw what they did with Swift. Is Saquon going to get the opportunity to ball, or is he going to get shafted with Swift, like Swift did? You know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into it. And that's why we talked about the last show. It's hard to really gauge the running back carousels, I called it, because it seemed like it was the same level of talent. Everybody just kind of, it's like a speed dating. Everybody just shifted to the next table. You know what I mean?
That's all it was, honestly. But Doc, man, I mean, what an episode. What a week in free agency. Trades happen, obviously moves happen. Like I said, it's exciting.
I've never been so excited to be a Bears fan.
I'm excited now to see what the Jets do with the number 10 pick, because they got Morgan Moses, a former Jet who was a Raven last year, back. They got Tyron Smith, so they're going with a little bit of experience there for the tackles. So Aaron Rodgers is left and right side at the tackle positions is protected. They didn't really need guard. You don't draft guard number 10 anyways. It's too high in the draft. So the question now is Brock Bowers. I mean, we're not going to talk about it right now, but Brock Bowers is a name out there. He loves it. He get a tight end out there with Garrett Wilson, whoever they bring at receiver. But I think next week, Doc, it's time to do another mock draft like we did. We might incorporate some trades. We're going to try and iron that out, maybe incorporate trades. If not, we'll run with what we have. We're going to mix it up. I won't be the same pick. You won't be the same pick. And same with was Allen, but Chris and Luke will be on there hopefully. And then it's time, because now you start to see where teams are going to lean to, where teams need. Because I did a mock draft the other day by myself. I had actually no trades. This was before the Vikings trade. No trades. Somehow I just couldn't find a trade value for anyone because of what was going on. So now you see what's going to happen. And so a lot of the picks changed for me. So that's going to be on the lookout for hopefully next week.
I'm telling you, man, with how bad the Vikings need a quarterback, I have no doubt they traded up for that second first-round pick.
Oh, I agree.
Package that together to either move up or, and again, it may not be Justin Herbert, but they may fleece.
They're going quarterback, and they're
the
going
Giants
quarterback.
may fleece him and sell Daniel Jones for a couple of first-round picks. You know what I mean? Like there's no telling at which point the Giants might trade up then to number one. I mean, there's no telling what's going to happen.
You never know, but we can't wait for it.
There's definitely going to be some excitement on draft night.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a good year. But, Doc, great episode. I hope you have a great weekend. Hope you enjoy some time with the family. I know you're going back to work. You'll be clean-shaven for the next episode. So, can't wait to see how your first couple days or your first day back was at the office. But, like I said, have a great weekend. And everyone out there listening, everyone that's watching out there, like I said, you can follow us on Twitter, which is now X, TikTok, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Instagram, all of it. Just hit the like. Follow, subscribe, do what you got to do.
Hey, make sure that you tag wherever you post the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Bears. They all need to see the magic I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
This is a win-win for all three sides, baby.
Yeah, we can't wait. If it happens, it will definitely be reclipped, just like Chris's clip that I reposted when he said that the dynasty was over for Nick Saban. He was pretty much retiring. So I will reshare it if it happens. But like I said, have a great weekend, Doc. I'm Mark Davis. This is All About the Balls podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.